Up and down. A little more here. A little dab there. Ooh. Well, a happy little accident, I presume the saying is.
That is a very nice drawing there, Ish. What is it?
A pile of coins, of course.
Of course. What else would it be? When we look back across the scope of human history, there are very few human passions that have survived over the millennia. Some traditions, some forms of escaping thrive and then disappear for one reason or another. Very few have stood the actual test of time. Of the two original human pastimes which provided escapism, beyond dreaming that is, there is art and music. Only the sands of history knows which one actually came first, but in the scope of the human experience, that's a tad bit irrelevant. What both of these share, however, is that they are rooted in one of our basic traits as humans: to share our experiences, our wishes, our dreams. Of the two, however, it is art that has stood the ultimate test of time. Early indications of art date back to prehistoric times and have marked the passage of humans for millennia, where the original sound, the original music, are just lost to the stars. Welcome to the Chronicles of Geek. I'm Damon Roth, your geek from the north. Have you ever found yourself in the middle of one escape only to find yourself lost in another? My wife and I love cruising. Now, if you want to hate on us for cruising, just wait until that episode airs, which is in a few weeks, and is dedicated to this very topic, escapism through cruising. We will look at all the good and bad because all escapism can have its consequences. But for now, just come down the rabbit hole that the cruising experience can bring. Cruising is a world of escapism all unto itself. One doesn't just escape a little when cruising, one escapes a lot. Sand, blue-green water, sun, the gentle breeze.
Damon? Damon?
Right. Here now. If you've been on a cruise ship, and if you have been paying any attention to the little paper agenda thing that shows up from time to time, pretty much every evening, you will probably know all about the one-of-a-kind tradition at seas called the art auction. This is a form of escapism that tops all others. For a moment in time, anyone of the passengers who are on the cruise ship, for the simple cost of 1 hour of their time, or so, will be rewarded with a couple of glasses of champagne, some gourmet creations from the kitchen, and a free lesson on art. A fellow by the name of Peter Max, by the way, used his fame and influence through art to help save the iconic Statue of Liberty. Art literally saves art. Now, this Peter Max fella has since gone on to make a career out of trying to share his vision, his dreams, his escape for liberty, as he says, from the world. So back to the art auction. You're sitting there, you've got your free lesson of art, everything is wonderful. You are feeling on the top of the world. Because the ability to pretend you are in some sort of reality Pawn Stars, Storage Wars, Dancing with the Stars mashup is just too much to resist sometimes. And then you're like, what do you mean I bought an actual piece of art? And who is this Daniel Wall fellow anyways? Now, if you have budgeted for this or have a 30% Muppet Adventure Fund, that's the fund that allows for the random things to happen when one is with someone like me. These auctions can be quite fun. Now, in all fairness, I have never seen any of the high-price art actually sell. The bread and butter of these auctions are actually the print, the limited editions, and what we have discovered, embellished prints. Art allows us to escape by just looking, by allowing the most powerful human tool, the mind, to explore the nuances, crevices, imperfections, and uniqueness of each piece. In some art, we find emotion. For my wife and I, in this piece, it's much more than just a path with two people on it. On the night we saw it hanging on deck 5 outside the theater, we saw us. The path we are walking, which once was dark, now leads to the light. The rain sent by Poseidon himself bless us as we walk into the light of our future. Sometimes you bring the escapism back to the real world with you. As an aside, Nicole, how the heck did we not know that it was going to rain buckets on our wedding day?
Do you like my masterpiece? I used this thing here and connected it to this vintage computer you ignore. It says hi, by the way. Gunship awaits. Whatever that means.
It's interesting. Listen, I know you like to use vintage things, so do I. I mean, I have you, right?
Watch it, Buster.
But seriously, sometimes you just have to let go. I mean, the one you are using is quite old and technically not a tablet, but a toy. But they do come even more vintage than that.
Welcome to the Geek Flashback News, where the year is 1957. It was in this year that the creation of the modern graphics tablet that resembles the one you know and love in the 21st century occurred. The first tablet used for handwriting recognition was presented at the Eastern Joint Computer Conference by T.L. Diamond and was branded the Stalator. Most graphic geeks, however, are better acquainted with the RAND tablet, R-A-N-D, introduced in 1964, as it is often misstated as the first digitizer tablet. Funny how often history gets it wrong. The RAND tablet employed a wire grid under the surface of the pad that encoded horizontal and vertical coordinates with a small magnetic signal. The stylus would then receive the magnetic signal, sending coordinate information which was then decoded by the receiving computer. What is interesting, however, is that in the months preceding the EJC conference and about a decade before the RAND, a simple toy came onto the market. The Etch-a-Sketch toy, which was invented in the late 1950s by André Cassagnès, is a mechanical drawing toy now owned by the Spin Master Toy Company of Canada. The toy, which is a plotter, has an inside surface of a glass screen that is coated with aluminum powder, which is then scraped off by a movable stylus, leaving a dark line on the light gray screen. Remarkably similar to the concept of the first viable tablets that later would go on to change the course of animation, graphic design, and simply art overall. This has been your Geek Flashback News. Today's Geek Flashback News has been brought to you by Ripped Apparel. Use the promo code GNN10 for all your finer geek apparel needs. Don't forget to subscribe below to keep up on all your fan-fueled content.
This makes no sense. I understand the separating, sure, fine, whatever. But it says right on the bottom, there's the symbol. Oh man!
Yes, Ish. Oh, wow, that's quite the pile of recycling.
You tell me, is it or isn't it? The package says yes, but this guide from the city says no.
The Geek Gripe of the Week this week is one word. And again, this week, not a first world problem. Recycling. It is supposed to be making the world better. H-E double hockey sticks. I'm from Canada, and I've been taught since Gretzky was king that the recycling was one of the 3 R's and very important. Reduce, reuse, recycle. And then this happens. our recycling is sent back from countries that we sent it to get rid of it for us, and it wasn't Wait,
What? What happened?
how come the recycling didn't get recycled? Yes, there is the official stance on why the garbage, recycling, was returned from overseas, and then there's many theories, some of which aren't actually that far off. Now, the point I'm about to make is not a theory. This is fact that can be found easily with a Google search. It's all over the news if you just look. But here's how it goes. Recycling costs money. Money that municipalities, cities, do not have. So they do what's logical, or what seems logical at the time, and contract out the pickup, sorting, dealing with the recycling to a major company that knows how to do it. Makes sense, and it should be great. Except, these are for-profit companies, and like any for-profit company, they don't want the things that don't make them money. Who would? So we wind up with things that can and should be recycled going to the landfill. The technology does exist to recycle everything that has one of those little numbers in a triangle on it. Profit just says no. This has been your Geek Gripe of the Week, brought to you by MetallicDice.com. If you're about to go down the rabbit hole and need the gaming tools to get you there, use promo code GNN for 10% off all your gaming needs. Art, without interpretation, without appreciation, without consideration, is simply just a collection of stuff that collects dust. In the art of humanity, we find our culture, our spirit, and of course our dreams. Within it is the code per se to who we were, who we are, and who we strive to be. Straightening his tunic again, he turned back to the door. It opened at his approach, and he stepped through into a softly lit art museum. He stopped short, just inside the room, and looked around in astonishment. The walls and dome ceiling were covered with flat paintings and planets, a few of them vaguely human-looking, but most of distinctly alien origin. Various sculptures were scattered around, some freestanding, other on pedestals. In the center of the room was a double circle of repeater displays, the outer ring slightly higher than the inner ring. Both sets of displays, at least from what little Pelon could see, also seemed to be devoted to pictures of artwork. And in the center of the double circle was Grand Admiral Thrawn. He sat motionlessly. His shimmery blue-black hair glinted in the dim light, his pale blue skin looking cool and subdued and very alien on his otherwise human frame. What do you think? It's very interesting, sir, was all Pelion could come up with as he walked over to the outer display circle. All holographic, of course, Thrawn said, and Pelion thought he could hear a note of regret in the other's voice. Tell me, Captain, do you know anything about art? Not very much, Pelon managed, thrown a little by the sudden change of subject. I've never really had much time to devote to it. You should make the time. Thrawn gestured to a part of the inner display circle to his right. Safa paintings. He identified them. Circa 1550 to 2200, pre-Empire date. Note the style changes right here, at the first contact with the Thakona. Over there, he pointed to the left-hand wall. Notice the similarities with the early Safa work, and also the mid-18th century. Pre-M. Vedakri. Flatskru. Yes, I see, Pelon said, not entirely a piece of fiction. Timothy Zahn himself has mentioned in interviews, as well as in the side notes of his original Star Wars novel, Heir to the Empire, that he uses art from the cultures he is writing about to figure it all out. The Grand Admiral does the same thing with strategy. The secrets of those he needs to interact with are all in their paintings and art. When we look at a piece of art, we can see a million things, or just one. The art itself can become as information filled as a photograph, studied for generations as it passes its secrets to those who dare to look. When we look at Thrawn, though, we see a strategic genius who studies those he encounters through their own words and creations. Not something that is exclusive to the fictional space galaxy, but happens here on this world as well. The art of the White House is specifically curated to allow the sitting president to be inspired by the past moments of American history. The Daniel Wall fellow mentioned before? Well, according to the presentation we sat through, he spent hours gazing at the works of others, not to steal their ideas, but instead to feel their passion, to understand their motivation, to simply escape into the work in hopes that inspiration would be the result. This is not a new concept. This is how art movements are born. A collective group of humans start to experience the same thoughts in different locations at the same time, the same dreams, and are compelled to share it with the world.
Didn't you record an interview earlier this week? I asked because I'm on it.
Yes, Ish, we sure did record one with Jackie Gelf, an artist out of Southern California that did a commission piece for my wife and I.
The one that does art to get away from the troubles of the world, right?
Exactly. Art provides escapism in two forms. The first, of course, is for those who get to appreciate it, that get to look at it, study it, what have you. But there is another form of escape that involves art, and that is the actual creation of it. Millions of dollars each year, if not billions, are spent to purchase the supplies to create art. Many of us do this as a hobby. Some of us even do it for more than a year. Art, as shown by the likes of Bob Ross, can be one of the most calming therapies that humans can undertake. It can soothe the soul and provide a physical place to escape when one needs to dream. So, what I would like to do today is we are, of course, talking about escaping through art. A few months ago, my wife and I got married, and she was on the internet on a roller skating page, I believe, one of the other ways that we escape, upcoming episode. And through this page, she came across an individual who was offering to create art pieces, and her name is Jacqueline Grafe. Sorry, did I get that right?
Yeah, that's right.
Jacqueline Grafe. And she, my wife Nicole, commissioned this art piece that Jackie did for us. And so today we have Jackie on the show, and she's here to talk about us and kind of how she escapes through art. Jackie, welcome to the Chronicles of Geek.
Hi, nice to see you.
You as well. Now, for those, just to bring folks up, Jackie is from the States.
So I am from San Diego, and as many people know, that is where Comic-Con International is based out of. So I grew up going to Comic-Con from junior high all the way through, and from there I discovered cosplay and anime, comic books, and everything under the sun, tabletop gaming, just everything. I love every aspect of geekdom, and that's pretty much it. And I liked to draw and do art, and I just have kept with it since then.
My wife sent you a couple ideas, and you came up with this great piece, which kind of combines who we are. We met on roller skates. I am an uber Star Wars nerd. So you kind of talk to us how the process you did to create this piece.
Let me kind of give you a base of this. I was in the military for 8 years, and I didn't do art for a very long time. And I only very recently came back to doing art as a way to cope with my anxiety. And because of the fires and the lockdown and everything, I needed something to do. And I remembered, hey, I have an iPad, I can start getting back to it. and I just fell back in love with drawing and illustration, and I wasn't sure where to start. So I started throwing around ideas in some of the roller skating groups. I was like, hey, would anyone be interested in having portraits drawn? Like, send me photos of you. And I found that I really, really enjoyed doing that. And so when your wife reached out to me, it was kind of along those same lines. I think you were the fourth or fifth piece or fourth or fifth illustration that I've done since getting back into art seriously. And she was talking about how much you loved Star Wars, and how the dark saber would be a really cool inclusion into that, and how she normally dresses and what you like. And she sent me some reference photos, and I just sort of went from there. So I enjoy taking the things about the individual people and implementing that into an art piece for them and making it personal.
Can you say or explain how you are able to have a bad day, do some art, and then not have a bad day?
Because of my military service, I was diagnosed with PTSD and anxiety disorder. And the VA awarded me 100% service-connected disability, so I don't work. And for a very long time, I felt like I didn't have a purpose. I was just home all the time. I was cooking and cleaning, taking care of my husband and daughter, but I really wanted to do something that could funnel my passion and my love of art and make me feel like I have a purpose. And I found that doing art and illustration, it gives me something to focus on and helps alleviate a lot of my anxiety. And I think with everything in 2020 going on, kind of culminated, and just it became overwhelming to the point where it's like, I'm going to do this. I have to do this. And I fell into it in a way that has completely changed my life for the better and allowed me to be a part of the community, be it the geek community and the roller skating community and all of that. But as for having a bad day, I find that if I can sit down and focus on something and be productive in a way, just having that, outlet for all these anxious feelings and distraction from everything in the outside world, and while at the same time feeling productive and creative, it helps immensely.
Now, when you were doing our commission, there was not just the normal 2020. You've already mentioned it as for the folks that may have made the connection. You actually had to evacuate in the middle of doing our piece of art. Can you tell us about that experience?
So we live up in the Sierra Nevada mountains in a small town called Bishop. If you have any rock climbers that listen to your show, that they'd probably be familiar with it. Or if you know roughly where Yosemite is, or Mammoth, if you like to ski or snowboard, we're in that area, and we're in a high desert valley. And the fires weren't close enough to us to threaten structures or anything like that, but the smoke from the fires became so thick, like it settled in the valley, that we could not go outside. I had to buy like an industrial air purifier just so we could breathe in the house. And at one point, my husband, he, even with the air purifier, if I opened the door and closed it, he was having asthma attacks. My daughter was coughing, having breathing problems. So we had to drive down to Orange County until the smoke cleared up enough that we could go home and breathe safely.
Good. Okay, one last question, just to kind of wrap it up. If you could draw something for somebody, who would that somebody be, and what would you want to draw?
Oh, that's tough. I would love to do something. I would love to do something charitable. Say a roller rink somewhere that has fallen on hard times. To kind of spruce up the place a bit, I would love to paint a mural for something like that, maybe for a Boys and Girls Club. I don't do my commissions so much for income. I do it because it makes me happy, and it makes me happy, and it makes others happy. And because the VA takes really good care of me and my family, I do it purely out of passion. And I would love to, when I improve and get a little bit better, I would love to be able to do more charitable works and find empty spaces that need a little bit of color and energy, and be able to do murals for free for people.
Awesome. What is? Okay, got to ask one quick more question.
Sure.
You've already said you live close to the you grew up close to the Comic-Con capital of the universe, as far as we know.
Right.
Would you go present your art there?
Oh, absolutely. I go to Comic-Con every year. I volunteer. I do makeup for the masquerade, the cosplay competition.
Nice.
So for all the contestants that enter the masquerade, I help them with their stage makeup so they don't like glow or blow out under the lights. So I'm at Comic-Con every year anyway. And if I had like an artist's alley table or something in small press, I would be so down to like sell stickers or art books and things like that. But I have only been doing art seriously since roughly last July. So I think I need to take a little bit of time to build up my portfolio before I'd be I'd feel like I'm comfortable enough with doing that. But I absolutely would in the future for sure.
Perfect. Thank you, Jackie, so much for joining us here on the Chronicles of Geek. It's been wonderful to have you on, and we really, really, hope that everything stabilizes for you a little bit more this year. And thank you so much for your service. It means so much to so many people.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me. This is really awesome. I'm glad you're doing this.
Thank you. So we all know that art can provoke emotion, passion, hatred. And we have seen that it can provide the basis of escape. Numerous movies, books, and even actual pieces of art have presented someone looking lost into the piece. Perhaps you've been in a gallery or on a street corner and have just stared at some piece of art. Maybe it was modern, maybe classic, maybe street. But where did you go? The next time you find yourself looking at a piece of art, when you are convincing yourself that you are analyzing it, studying it, appraising its intrinsic value, that in that moment, consider, just like when you hear the first drum beat of one of your favorite songs, or inhale the sweet aromatic embrace of that perfect bottle of wine as it hits your nose. Do you find yourself perhaps escaping? Jackie showed us today that art is twofold. That for her it's the creation of it that's the escape. And just as we can spend hours gazing at it, looking at every single detail, no matter how small, and maybe no match in comparison to what the artist experienced, dreamt, to get that detail just right, perfect. Somewhere in every piece of art is the escape of that artist. Here in this picture, perhaps in the skates, or the hair, or even the darksaber, the California fires of last year mixed with the trials of COVID exist. And the story of creation will not be forgotten. It's the providence, what makes the piece even more real. And like all great art, if you know the artist, you know that a little piece of it is her. Until next time, I'm Damon Roth, here escaping with you on the Chronicles of Geek, on the Geek News Now Network. Don't forget to subscribe and like below. And always, my friends, stay safe, stay brave, and most of all, stay geeky.